Good morning, welcome to another episode of the Scout Life. Before we start today, I just want to thank you guys and girls for watching the videos, for being a part of the adventure, for supporting Scout focused businesses. I know you can go to eBay or Amazon or whatever, but supporting local Scout companies is good for it's good for the whole team. And I don't just mean anything Scout. I mean any of the businesses that dedicate their lives to keeping these Scouts on the road. So buckle in. We're gonna have a fun episode. Alright, so today is a day for upgrades. I'll walk you through a couple things that I've been working on, thinking about, but we have a trip. Every year we do a trip for our new Legend brand. Once or twice a year, we take our customers and friends out on some epic adventure. We've been to Wisconsin, Wyoming, maybe that's it. We also do some meetups, but this year we're going to Death Valley and to, I think, the Northeast. So I need to pre-run that Death Valley trip. So getting the truck ready for about 5 days in Death Valley. Desert, some rock crawlings, just some really light rock crawling, but just some desert adventure. I'm really excited, but I want to get some things situated and settled first. So today is a day of upgrades. We'll do a full maintenance check. Maybe I'll make a video on that. There's a few things happening with the Scout that I need to address, but we got this. This is our RIGd UltraSwing Hitch Carrier that we'll be selling on the Anything Scout website. I really love this thing so far. You've seen it in a few videos. Today we got our table. So there's going to be a cool table that goes right here, which is going to be really neat. And just like we showed last week, today we're going to do that alternator. So I'll walk you through all that whole system. And that little morsel in the back is the National Luna Power Pack 25 that I'm excited to show you. That'll be next video. So let's get cracking. I've never installed this table before, so I don't know really what tools. Talking to Jason, he said it's pretty easy. I'm guessing that's like a hardware box. You guys, I'm super stoked about this. Having like a cool little camp kitchen prep area, so well boxed for the aimless journey. They say that, but I think there's more intention to that than being aimless. Although when I'm heading to Death Valley, I have charted a course. I think I'll make a video about it. Man, so props to RIGd. They do a really good job of boxing this stuff up. It's very, very professional. And I love working with vendors like that. Okay. Okay, so just came with this bracket and some hardware. So it looks like I'll need like a hex Allen and a 9/16. So I'll go grab some tools. This bracket's pretty cool, man. These guys build a really high quality product. I'm very impressed. It's got captured nuts on the bracket, 9/16 hardware, it's washers. I don't really know how tall to make it or which is the top and the bottom. So let me see. Maybe it doesn't. I'm gonna guess this is the top since there's maybe more holes and there's more pressure on it from the top down. I'm just gonna put it in the top position. I'm gonna fast forward through this so you don't have to watch me putting in nuts and bolts. Okay, so super dig it. Whoa. But I think I'm just trying to figure out how high. I think that seems pretty good. I mean, I can move it up higher. But the tailgate is pretty low, and I don't want the big disparity between the table. You have your stove on top of here or cutting board here. Yeah. We'll throw it right here and see how we like it. It was a little tricky holding it up. It would be like a little easier with two people, but it wasn't bad at all. This table it's really well built. It is a little bit heavy. It felt like, you know, maybe like 15 pounds. The carrier is 100% meant for it. We'll hold it no problem, but just when you're thinking about the rear of your Scout. Also, I think I made a decision. So this truck has a rough country 2.5. It is a rough country 2.5 with no body lift, kind of worn out body bushings. That's another thing I need to do. And I have 31 10.5 tires, and I plan on keeping it that way. I mean, maybe someone could talk me into. Kenda just came out with a 33 9.5 that I'm pretty stoked about. So I mean, it's possible I could envision putting those on, but I'm really pretty stoked on the 31. But I have an opportunity to maybe get my hands on a set of Devers, so I might upgrade the suspension to a Dever because they just ride so much better. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Next video we'll probably do Next video we'll probably do the Power Pack 25. I'm going to put a steering brace, like a straight steer brace for lack of a better term. So I'm getting some popping from the front steering, like when I just turn it stationary, it just like makes some creaking and popping noises, and I'm not 100% sure what it is. So I want to check that out. The Devers, straight steer brace, Power Pack, and that system is pretty slick. And then another big upgrade, man, that I want to do is, I think I've told you guys the story of this truck. When I got it, it had some really weird stuff going on with the cooling system. Like there was copper or like black iron pipes with elbows everywhere. It was kind of really weird. And the freeze plugs in the back of the motor were pushed out. So as fast as you put coolant in it, it would go out. And this truck has, I think, like 90,000 original miles on it. Again, I bought it for out in the desert. It was sitting for about 10 years. And then the other weird thing about the motor was it had like white coloration at the cylinder heads where the exhaust manifolds meet the cylinder heads. And so kind of how I interpreted that, said I didn't get to drive it or run it much because it didn't have any coolant. And when I pulled it out, I had this rebuilt 304, and typically I'm not the biggest fan of rebuilt IH motors. I just haven't had the greatest experience with them. So I put the 304 in here, and the 304 is fine, but it runs fine, but it's clacky. Like when it's cold, it's really clacky, and now it's starting to do more, like pretty bad. When I start it, it puffs out a lot of white smoke, which is probably just the valve guides or valve seats. Kind of normal, but it does bug me, like when you're at a crowded restaurant, like an outdoor restaurant, and then you fire it up and it just smokes everybody out and everyone's looking at you funny. I don't love that. So what I think I determined was that the white discoloration that I thought was like heat damage, you know, like the IH paint burned off and it turned white, I think was just white spray paint. And the motor's pretty sweet, so I still have the original 345 from this truck for this truck. So I think, sorry to ramble, I think I'm going to I want to swap that back in. So probably what I'll do is rebuild the transmission, and I'll do an engine transmission swap. I will not rebuild the engine. I'll just kind of re-gasket it. Maybe, I think I'll paint it, because I don't mind that. I like a nice fresh engine bay. And then but my garage out here is not really set up for that, but what really do I just need an engine hoist, that's all, and a way to receive the engine off a forklift, because the engine's out in Iowa. All right, cue to B-roll. We'll get my other stove out. So that's the RIGd UltraSwing table install. A huge addition to the truck. Pretty cool. And then stick around. If you stick around for the rest of this video, we're gonna install the alternator really quick. Hopefully that goes smooth. But then I'm gonna have a little special chili shootout. I got 3 different brands of spicy canned chili, perfect for a Death Valley breakfast. So we're gonna do a shootout. We'll cook it on the UltraSwing RIGd table with a different stove. Otherwise, I should toke some just gasoline in this thing and fire it up, but I'll probably die. So anyway, let's get to the alternator. Okay, so just in case you didn't watch the last video, I talked briefly about, or not the last video, a couple videos ago, I talked about this 140 amp alternator. It's not a large case, so it fits on a standard alternator bracket. It should be just a straight bolt, and that's the way we designed it with the manufacturer. Some really important features when you're doing any upgrades to your alternator. One of the best features of the IH engine is the dual primary belt. So it always breaks my heart to see, like, when people go buy like a Power Master alternator from the auto parts store and it's only got a single pulley, and you lose that redundancy and that reliability of having 2 pulleys. I really like that. So we worked with our manufacturer to make sure the spacing is correct and that the pulley diameter is correct. So that is cool. But you don't want to just, and this is an adapted alternator. I also think an excited alternator is better than a boring alternator, non-excited, meaning a lot of people just would put a 1-wire. The problem with a 1-wire alternator is they don't charge very well at low RPM. So if you're just like idling or crawling around out in the desert, it's not going to charge as well as one that has an exciter and a field wire. So this is all set up to plug straight in off of your current electrical system. However, what you don't want to do is just start boosting, especially with an old original wiring harness. If you have a brand new wiring harness, you can disregard this section or this advice. But this truck has original wiring, and a lot of your trucks do. So what you don't want to do is just bolt in a 140 amp alternator, Power Pack 25, Goal Zero, a fridge, a stereo, console lighting, console power, a light bar, like all this draw off your stock electrical system. It's not designed to handle that. I think a factory alternator is like 60 amps. That's like the upgraded one is 60 amps. So you're more than doubling the amperage capacity and output of the alternator. And then, yeah, who knows what kind of other, like if you're using a lithium ion battery or whatever. So you want to make sure that this kit has a fix for that, and that is a jumper wire that goes straight from the alternator to the battery. Now we're going to leave the amp gauge wired up. This is just going to take all the majority of the draw off of that gauge. So we're gonna try that. I'm not actually upgrading. I don't have off-road. Well, I have 2 simple off-road lights. I don't have a stereo. I'm just gonna be running the power pack, and that's gonna be pulling not from the amp gauge through the stock harness. It's gonna be pulling straight from my primary battery to charge my auxiliary battery. So this will run essentially straight to those battery systems and take some of the stress off the amp gauge. You can just simply remove the amp gauge, take those 2 terminals, fuse them together, just really bypass the amp gauge. I don't feel like that's necessary for what I have to do. We'll also talk about how to inspect your electrical plug, make sure you have good contact. Another thing is ground straps. A lot of people overlook ground straps. It's important to have engine to frame and engine to body, really good grounds, and that will help your charging system immensely. So I think I have what I need. Let's give it a shot. Let's start the install. It might be hard to see because it's kind of dark, but we'll do our best. And it's, again, pretty simple tools. Some really basic hand tools is all we should need. So this is your basic 304. If you're watching this channel, you've probably seen it, although maybe you haven't, and that's okay too. So this is an original IH 304. This is the passenger side of the truck that I'm on. Got your heater box, heater core, wiper, washer fluid, and pump, which mine does not work, so I need to work on that ASAP. But here is the alternator. Now this is an AC equipped truck. You can see my AC hoses. I do have a compressor that I scavenged off another project that I want to actually get the original AC working, so that'll be a fun Scout Life adventure. But here's the alternator. So as you can see, it's going to be hard to film, so I'll just do my best and we'll see what happens. I'm just thinking through how to film it. We'll see. So the first thing we're gonna do is just take the battery, disconnect the battery. It's pretty simple. Just take a terminal off, take the terminals loose. Okay, also I'm going to disconnect the alternator. So I'm just unhooking all the wires first. And if you're tackling this, you probably don't need a whole lot of like instruction on how to change an alternator. It's pretty basic. So what I'm gonna do is just save you guys some torture of watching this. I'm just gonna change out the alternator, and then I'll kind of show you how we're gonna route the main kind of jumper wire, and if there's any differences with the belts. I do have one size shorter setup on belts, but I'm not sure if I need it. These are pretty good shape. They were new when I put them on. I've probably got, man, I've probably got 8,000 miles on this truck, 8,000 or 9,000 miles since I've built it or got it back on the road. But anyway, check it out. So I'll fire back at Joe when the alternator's on. So we can see the alternators side by side. If anything, the new one's actually a smaller case, but literally double the output. Pulley's a little bit smaller, but these are pretty deep grooves, so they might be pretty similar. I think I'm gonna change the belts just because they're new belts. But let's get the new one put back in. As you can see, it's pretty identical, so it should just bolt right back in. All right, so I got the alternator all installed. The hardest part about it was, by myself, was holding tension on the alternator while trying to tighten it. So what I found, if you don't have a pry bar, which I don't have a good pry bar, I ended up using a piece of 1/2-inch conduit, like a 30-inch length. Works pretty good. Okay, so next we're gonna route this jumper wire. I think I'm gonna route it around the back side of the motor, so we'll see if it's long enough to do that. That's how we designed it. You'll see two terminals, a larger one and a small one. The small one goes on the alternator. Just pay attention to how it's routed. Try to route it. I'll show you the pathway that I'm gonna choose. Just a path of like natural flow with other wiring. I have a battery cable that's running across the back of the motor, the positive battery cable. I'll probably link it off that. I don't love that. I'll probably get like a Pico clamp, it's like a round clamp that I'll probably run some wires through up on the firewall later. I have to get one, but anyway, let's route this wire. All right, so that was pretty tedious, but really easy. I just traced from the alternator back through the valve cover. There's like some factory wiring clips I ran through with the main alternator line, and then I kind of connected that into the battery cable, which runs up right from the starter. Traced it along that battery cable. Then what I'll do is I'll zip tie it to the battery cable, and it runs cleanly onto the battery. I'll show you that. And sorry for the grinding, dude. It's so weird. It's like, it just seems like every day there's like the wash dryer, dumb dryer going. That's fixed. I don't know what's going on. It's like grinding central in here. There's never grinding until I want to shoot a video. Then it's just everybody and their mom is grinding on this road. A lot of moms grinding stuff. Okay, so anyway, got the battery cable routed nicely with this positive cable. So next up is these ground straps. So if you look, I already have, there's a hole on the back of the head. So that's running a 9/16 bolt. And then there's a bolt right here that holds the accelerator pedal. It's a long stud. That is where I'm gonna tap into this ground cable. So I already have this one. So that's engine to body. Now what we need is a frame. Sorry, I'm just gonna keep this rolling. We need a frame to motor. And I figured the best way to do that is just run along the motor mount. So if you look down there, there's the motor mount. I'm just trying to determine which one's easier to get to. This one's less greasy. Maybe I'll run it on this side. Or that one's pretty easy to get to. I think I'm gonna run it on the driver's side. So I'll go from that top stud. See that top stud right there? I'm gonna run it from that to the bottom. Sorry, we're getting real vibes here. To the bottom of the motor mount right there. So I'll just loop it on there real quick. It'll be painless. I'll get that going, and then we'll be ready to fire it up. And then we have special shootout for lunch. Cool, so I got that ground strap bolted to that rear bolt of the motor mount. And now I'm just gonna sling it around the top and bolt it to the top of the motor mount, which is this bracket right here. Sorry, it's hard to point and hold the phone. But this bracket right here is bolted to the motors. Therefore, it'll be a frame to motor ground. While you're under here, it's a good time to check things out. And unfortunately, like, this thing's starting to develop some oil leaks, which is a bit of a bummer, but kind of par for the course with an IH motor. Got that ground strap in, 1 ground strap, 2 ground straps, 3 ground straps, 4. No, I'm just kidding. And then this one is incidentally grounded to the inner fender. So I feel good about it. I don't love this cable. I might zip tie that right there. So let's fire it up. I've kind of checked things over. I have my battery cables snug, not tight yet, because if something goes wrong, I want to be able to... Let's go check it out, man. Two pumps. Hear that clacking? That's what I was telling you guys about earlier. Okay, everything seems good. And it gets quieter. I'm gonna change the oil and put a little Lucas in there. Smells so good. I can actually hear the alternator a little bit, which is probably a good sign. You're gonna have, since we're going to the desert, nothing says desert like canned chili. Spicy canned chili. So I went to the store, got 3 brands. Got the Hormel, got the Amy's, got the Denison. So we're gonna cook these up, and Ben's gonna help me. We're gonna have a little lunch and do a taste test shootout of the canned chili, right, Ben? So let's do it. All right, welcome to the Anything Scout cooking channel. If you're gonna head to the desert or any camping excursion, it's never complete without your fine assortment of canned goods. So we're gonna do a taste test shootout. We got the Hormel, we got the Amy's, we got the Denison. All of them have meat and beans. If we're gonna be honest about our review, is it convenient that the Hormel and the Amy's have convenient opening lids, so you don't need a can opener? So I'm gonna say, hey, if we're being honest with each other, I don't want to eat a can of number 1 either. By the way, man, we're restoring this 1980 Baja 1000 winning Race Scout, and we're gonna run it, we're gonna restore it and race it. Big life passion project of mine. You'll see and hear plenty about it. But one thing I've discovered in the racing world, even in the recreational racing world, is a thing called race catheters. Look it up. I'm not looking forward to it. And then we'll make this one number 3. A can of number 3 also sounds bad. Okay, we have our cook partner stove. Coleman was cool, but I love this table, dude. So far, look at this. I have an open tailgate for tools, prep. I get a cutting board for the tailgate. And now I not only have room here, but I also still have room on this. So this is, dude, this is a sick setup. It actually makes the RIGd UltraSwing, it's probably my favorite thing about it so far, is this table. So I love camping and cooking and all that kind of stuff. So as you can tell, I love getting gourmet. So let's crack this open, cook it in the can. See how easy the pop top is? This is the Amy's. Whoa, pretty good. A little more, look at this. You can't really see in there, but that is the Denison. That is the Amy's, much more liquid. Let's try the Hormel. Kind of a little bit in between. I'm excited. And just while you're looking, this is from a company called Blue Ridge Overland, I think. Blue Ridge Overland gear. It's been pretty great. It keeps spices in it. Knives, forks, spoons, all the essentials. It's pretty good. All right, we're gonna let these heat up. I'm gonna go get a spoon and a couple bowls, and we'll surprise and see what Ben likes best, and maybe we'll try to get.
You made him in the can? That's epic.
I thought
All right.
Liv was gonna do.
So we got Ben here. Come on in, Ben. And we got Heather here. It's more awkward to hide off screen.
I don't want to.
Okay, so here's Heather. Heather is a chili expert. Does not like canned goods, generally
I
speaking.
like canned goods.
You do as much as the next gal.
Just not
Okay.
chili.
So what we're gonna do is get. I think it's about up to operating temperature.
Did you tell them I'm here against my will?
That's a no.
So just from a consistency standpoint, the #1 chili is like
What are we doing?
it is like kind of a medium
We're picking
consistency.
the best chili.
It just they all look like dog food.
The #2 chili is the most kind of gourmet looking. That looks, it's got like a nice liquidy consistency. There's like green peppers in it. It looks pretty good. And the last
That's
one
awful.
looks like prison food mixed with dog food. It's definitely the thickest.
Come on.
It looks like the same it would come out later.
Okay, I'm gonna try a little just to see if
Can we just grab the fork and just take it out of that instead of putting it on the plate?
Yeah.
First of all, it's boiling.
Here's your weapon.
Do I really have to? Do I really need to?
Yeah.
You're already on video, Steve.
You gotta cleanse the palate too, man.
I just had some tortilla chips, so
Here.
What are we doing?
you gotta do it over it.
Use this spoon. Okay, so then I'll record the results of what we think is the favorite.
I'll wait for you.
No, go ahead, dude.
Do I have to vote? Is this too hot?
No, it's like lukewarm.
So that's the #1 chili.
It's not bad. It'd be good on a hot dog, dude.
Tell me just general thoughts. What are your thoughts about it?
Consistency is good.
Okay. Nice consistency.
Uh-huh. Like it's
I
not
have
gonna
no
just
thoughts.
seep off your hot dog.
Okay, so Ben's thinking #1 could be good. Okay, but so then Heather, what are your general thoughts on one? How's the spice level? This is called spicy chili.
Oh, it's not
low.
spicy.
Okay, so low spice.
So
Taking this too seriously.
no, you gotta test out all this good stuff, man.
Okay. Are you guys?
That has no spice.
This is
I don't know about this one. It's very thin.
#2 is very thin, so we're gonna say it's
Oh, it's not good. That's
thin.
not good.
Consistency.
That tastes like it got burnt before they put it in the
So it's not-
can. Like I regretted it.
I will
when
not buy.
got-
Too
Really,
spicier.
#2. 2 is spicier, so good spice but not good flavor.
But it tastes burnt.
It tastes like
Like you put it.
It's
it
definitely
tastes
not
like
burnt
rubber.
though. I don't think it's burnt.
No, but it.
It just tastes
I
like
think
rubber.
Tastes like burnt rubber.
Yeah, I
yes.
think that's what they were going for.
I'm
Okay,
terrified of
burnt
this one now.
tasting. Okay,
You're
#3.
not gonna say
Give it a
who
little bit
is,
of.
are you?
Yeah, of course. This is an independent testing channel. We're
See,
not
this one
biased.
separates,
These
dude.
guys
There's
are
like
gonna
red.
cancel us.
So the one that looks like dog food is actually looking good to your.
I mean, it looks better than #2.
That's
That looks like diarrhea, dude.
That's properly numbered. Number 2.
Okay. So number 3, we kind of also.
I don't know if it tastes better because number 2 was so bad.
No, that's not good.
The first one's the winner. Either out of all 3,
How's the spice level on 3?
the same as number 2.
Like if you were desperate, like we're talking.
This is not desperate for me. This is just a good afternoon, especially with some like saltine crackers or a piece of bread.
Like if this was The Walking Dead, I'd be okay with number
Okay,
two.
so yeah,
Yeah.
any second testing you want to do?
No,
I just had more of number 1.
Thank you, Heather. So your favorite was number 1,
I wouldn't classify it as favorite.
But
just
best
edible.
option.
Yeah,
Most
if I had
edible.
to pick, if I was very desperate.
So Heather takes number 1. Ben, what do you say?
Number 1 as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did
Ben.
you try these beforehand?
No, I'm gonna give them
Okay.
a try.
But you know which one's which.
Right, I know, but that doesn't.
No, right?
I'm
But
not
like you do though, right?
It's not like I have
Yeah.
a brand loyalty to Hormel.
This video is sponsored by. This table.
Yeah, number 1 is pretty good. Yeah, Ben, while you're on camera, what do you think about the RIGd table?
I like it.
It's so awesome. Look at all this space.
Mm-hmm. Because now you don't have to. Because usually we carry that table on the adventure trailer.
It's a bummer about the number 2 because it's got the best like homemade consistency.
Did you try it yet, or is that your first try?
I don't know. I kind of like it.
Here, I'll try it.
2 is definitely more spicy than 1. I like spicy food. Man, I think for me, I like number 3.
As long as it's not.
Okay. Well, so number 1 was the Hormel. Number 2 was Amy's. I never really heard of Amy's before. Number 3 was Denison. So if you're looking for canned chili,
Stick with Hormel.
Hormel or Denison, can't go wrong. And this lunch break was brought to you by
Hormel.
no sponsors. All right, let's wrap this video up. So, in preparation for our adventure in the Scout, taking out to Death Valley, we upgraded the charging system, which I still need to test it. I got to go buy a multimeter. I think it's fine. If not, I'll troubleshoot it. We added the RIGd table, huge upgrade. I'm gonna mount. I gotta do a bunch of mounting. I'll shoot another video. Probably this weekend I'll shoot another episode of the driveline vibration and new drive shafts, because it's just, you don't want to break a drive shaft out in the middle of nowhere. And then we'll probably just do a third video on just general trip prep. How did I choose my route? What are the things I'm nervous about, or trying to be really prepared, because preparation can help avoid problems. And yeah, and then just full like fluid checks, like kind of packing up the truck, how I want to lay out the truck. It's going to be 2 people in the Scout, so how to travel with 2 people. I might take the back seat out. Anyway, it'll be fun. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're having a good afternoon or a good morning whenever you're watching this video. Thank you for watching. As always, if you're interested, you can like and subscribe and help us get to 10K, man. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Tell a friend. Thanks for watching.